If you're a new military spouse and you've been doing hours of research trying to understand Tricare, keep watching this video because I'm going to answer all of your Tricare questions soon. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jaleesa if you're new here, and today I'm going to be talking about everything Tricare. So just to put this out here, I am not an insurance representative. I don't work for Tricare. I'm just a military spouse who had the same burning questions trying to understand Tricare, and I want to help you all understand the Tricare system from a military spouse perspective and give you some peace of mind. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Tricare is the health care provided to all military personnel and their family. Depending upon your family member's status in the military, they will be offered a different type of Tricare. There's Tricare if someone's a reservist. There's Tricare for someone who has retired from military service. There's also Tricare specifically for active duty military. But as a military spouse, if you are married to someone who is active duty, you'll live in that Tricare Prime, Tricare Select world. I have had both. I've had different experiences with both, so I'm gonna break that down. Tricare Prime, in my opinion, is that standard level of health insurance that you get once you become a military spouse. So once I officially married my husband, I called up, I believe it was either DEERS or Benefeds, and said, hey, I just married my husband, he's active duty Navy, and I would like to enroll in Tricare. From there, they asked for some supporting information just in regards to your spouse's military service, rank, things of that sort. Because getting married is considered a life-changing event, I was able to enroll instantly in Tricare Prime and did not have to wait with any delay. From there, I was able to schedule an appointment with my primary care manager on base. That primary care manager looked at and assisted my needs in regards to just general health things. So when you think of your doctor now who you see for your annual checkups or physicals, or if you have a stomach ache or something that's bothering you, your first entry point into kind of getting some type of assistance and care is to see your general doctor. That's what that primary care manager is, your general doctor. When I visited my general care manager, she performed all my annual things. And during that first visit, because I was still very new to this whole Tricare system, I had some preconceived notions of what I was supposed to do or what I thought I was supposed to do. And one of those things was I was only allowed to see doctors on base, on post. And she informed me that when it came to my primary care needs, I had to see her, my assigned primary care manager. But when it came to other specialty needs like dentists, getting my eyes checked out, if I needed to see somebody to get my ears checked out, that I could go and schedule a doctor's appointment with any doctor who took Tricare Prime. And that was new to me because I definitely thought that as a Tricare, recipient, I had to go on base to get care. But she broke it down to me from the standpoint of if we, the base, are seeing active duty members as well as their spouses and their children and their family members, that really does block up the system, and we're spending less time making sure our military members are ready to protect this country and more time seeing everyone. So allowing family members to go off post to get their needs done and cared for helps to alleviate the system so that they're able to get back to the main why of why they're providing care. So that was news to me and was great because I was still almost able to operate and function like I had been prior to joining Tricare. When going to see doctors off base, like your dentist, eye doctor, when I was doing those things while still on Tricare Prime, I don't recall ever really having to come out of pocket to pay for anything, even when it came to co-pays. As long as the doctor I was seeing took Tricare Prime, I did not have to pay for anything. And I emphasize on making sure your doctor takes the form of Tricare that you are on, because again, there are different types of Tricare. So some doctors may only take one form of Tricare. So Tricare has this awesome tool that will walk you through trying to find a doctor that takes your type of insurance. So the URL is tricare.mil/find a doctor, and this site will pop up. It'll ask you what type of provider you want to see. And for most cases, you may want to see a network provider or a military hospital, or maybe you want to see someone that's not network. It's up to your choice. From there, it'll ask you for your zip code, and then it'll ask you what plan are you using. So again, as I've stated, there are different types of Tricare depending upon your status, if you're active duty or your spouse's status. I'm going to select Tricare Prime. And then it'll pop up with this message. Now, this message is basically stating that your primary care manager should be able to provide most of your needs. But as I stated with myself, my primary care managers explicitly told me that she would take care of my general health needs as far as my physical, things of that sort. But when it came to specialty services like dentistry, optometry, I would need to go find someone out of the base system. So I am going to click on find a network provider, and it will bounce me to the Humana military site. So on this site, I will type in the specialty doctor I'm looking for. Let's say I'm looking for a dermatologist. Let's see dermatology here. And then again, I would type in my zip code. We'll just say click on a random Virginia Beach zip code. And then boom, it gives me a list of all of the doctors that are in the specialty that take my form of insurance. And this way I'm staying in network, I'm not incurring any additional costs, and it gets to go. We're good to go. It also tells me if they're accepting new patients and if telemedicine is available. So this is an awesome tool to help you all find a doctor that takes your type of Tricare insurance. Again, you start off with tricare.mil/find a doctor, and then that will ping you to the Humana military site. When I was on Tricare Prime, I did not have to come out of pocket when I saw any specialty doctors. I only had to go on base to see my primary care manager, which was my general doctor. And in regards to even my prescriptions that I may needed from the pharmacy, I would still get those from my local pharmacy at my grocery store with Tricare Prime. Everything was almost very similar to my experience with having healthcare through my job. But there was a huge difference with Tricare Prime, and really the catalyst that caused me to switch from Prime to Tricare Select, and that was when I found out that I was pregnant. So I stayed with Tricare Prime until the end of 2020. However, it wasn't until I found out I was pregnant in summer of 2020 that I started doing my research and began starting to make the transition over to Tricare Select. With Tricare Select, you do not have to see any doctor on base. You can go and see any doctor you want off base. You don't have to ask for permission, none of that. You can go your primary care physician, your specialty doctors, you can see all those doctors off base. And I'm sure you're probably thinking, well, you were kind of able to do the same thing with Tricare Prime with the exception of your primary care manager, and that's true. But again, once I got pregnant, I realized that I could not see a OBGYN outside of base, which was news to me. So when I found out I was pregnant, I had started hearing rumblings that once you become pregnant, regardless if you're active duty or a military spouse, you have to have your baby on base, especially if you live in an area that has a military hospital. And of course, if you watch any of my previous videos, you know I'm from the 757 area, Virginia Beach, and you know that's where we're currently stationed right now. We have a huge military hospital over in Portsmouth. So there was really nothing that was going to get me out of having my baby at Portsmouth Naval Hospital outside of a medical emergency, which I didn't want that. But I remember calling, Tricare. I remember being on the phone with people and just not really understanding and really just frustrated at, why is it that as a Tricare Prime user, I can go off base to see a dentist, I can go off base to get my eyes checked, I can go off base to, see a cardiologist, who knows, like any specialty doctor, I can go off base to do those things. But when it comes to having a baby, I have to be on base. And for me, the reason why I was adamant about having the option, I will say I was more so initially adamant just about having the option to have, a doctor, or in my case, I wanted a midwife off base, was just because, as we know, as women, giving birth is a very dangerous, taxing thing on our bodies and our mental state. As a Black woman, I know that the statistics are, not always on our side when it comes to maternal health. So I knew that when I got pregnant and I was going to embark on this journey of motherhood, that I wanted to have a say in my birthing experience. I really, if it was up to me, I wanted to have a home birth, but trying to compromise with my husband, he wanted me to be in the hospital. So I was like, well, if I'm going to be in the hospital, I wanted to have a doula, and I also wanted to be cared for by a midwife. At the military hospital, they did have midwives that were available. However, at the time, 2020, we're still in the thrust and thick of COVID. They had stopped allowing doulas to be in the birthing room. If you had a doula, in my case, I had a doula, they told me that I could only have my doula as support virtually. And that wasn't going to cut it for me. I wanted somebody there with me. First doctor's appointment at the medical hospital did not go well. I did opt with going with a midwife, and being the type of person that I am, I'm someone who really wants to understand the plan and the flow of things. I'm pregnant now. I think I was 6 weeks pregnant at the time. The goal is to get the 40 weeks and get the baby out. Like, what can I expect getting care from here? And I came in asking a lot of questions. I came in also sharing my concerns, a little scared. This is my first time having a baby. And I felt like maybe I may have unloaded a lot on the midwife. And I felt like her response was just very rude. She kind of shut me down and was like, hey, we're just gonna do the ultrasound now and then we can do all the questions later. And it just kind of made me even more uncomfortable after that. After having that hiccup with the midwife, I just was like, you know what? I don't think this is going to be the right fit for me. This is my first time having a child and I can't control everything. Not everything's gonna be perfect, but this does not feel right for me. And so I need to figure out a different option and a different way forward. So that is, again, when I started exploring Tricare Select. Tricare Prime has certain touches and similarities to traditional private insurance. However, Tricare Select is really that military traditional insurance where you opt in, you pay your deductible, and then you can see the doctors that you want who take Tricare Select. So in regards to cost, when opting into Tricare Select, when you are seeing a doctor in network, so they take Tricare Select, there is a deductible that is associated with Tricare Select as well as a copay. So every year at the top of the calendar year, you will have to pay your deductible. So with Tricare Select, in my case, deductible is $150, and then my daughter's also with Tricare Select. So in total, our deductible is $300. So every new year we have to pay into or pay up to that $300 deductible. And then once we have fed into that $300 deductible, or $150 for each of us, then we're just paying our copays. And I really think our copays are like $20, $21 each time we visit the doctors. I wanted to emphasize the coverage difference in the amount that Tricare pays if you do choose to see someone outside of the preferred provider network, because when I decided to go with my doctor's office that cared for me while I was pregnant, they were not a preferred in-network provider that Tricare recognized. And I did end up having to pay a little bit more to go to that office. However, that office fit my needs and I felt completely safe, heard, and cared for, and it was worth the money for me. So in my experience, being someone who envisioned a certain type of birthing experience, Tricare Select was really the best option for me. It allowed me to evaluate the type of doctor offices I wanted to go to be cared for and make the best choice for myself and my family. I will say, as a Tricare Prime user, I still feel like there was a lot of flexibility with being a Tricare Prime user outside of having to see my primary care manager on base and having to give birth at a military medical facility. Tricare Prime still afforded me flexibility and freedom to select the type of doctors that I felt like was the right fit for me. And I may possibly even say, if not for the lack of flexibility with being able to choose my birthing experience in the place that I gave birth to my child, I wouldn't be surprised if I was still a Tricare Prime, user. So I would highly recommend and encourage just being aware of who you are and what you envision your medical needs being, and just really evaluating which of the two meet you in the middle. So hopefully this video helped anyone and cleared up some misconceptions or assumptions you may have had about Tricare. Now, in this video, I solely focused on Tricare. However, if you have other questions regarding being a military spouse, maybe you have some misconceptions, check out this video below where I go over 5 facts about military spouse life. I'll see you there.